It's going to be a little bit sad when the Veilguard actually releases, because right now, it is entertaining us. We've got BioWare's incompetence to laugh at. You've got the coping fans, mainstream game journalists sucking up to the game, BioWare, really just for political reasons, not because of the game itself. But it's a good time, and sadly that good time will come to an end. The game will actually release. It'll be mediocre. It'll be forgettable. Even the people defending it, they'll slowly disappear once reality sets in. They'll still claim to love it, but deep down, it's going to lose its shine, and people just won't want to hear about it anymore. It's going to be a bit like Starfield. Comes out, a few weeks of laughing at it, Todd, the incompetence, and then people just get annoyed hearing the name. So it's important to remember that we are in the good times right now, and sure, when the game releases, there'll be plenty to laugh at, because BioWare have tried to curate things, show us just the best bits of the Veilguard. And there was enough to clown on with that, the trailers and the little bits of gameplay that they've shown, but we haven't even seen the worst bits, the stuff they've been hiding that hasn't gone into the marketing material. So there's going to be some good stuff, but it won't be quite the same as now, before release. It rarely is with this sort of disaster, although to be fair, something like Starfield, people were expecting great things. I, sadly, was one of them. I've said many times, I was one of the copers, thought it was going to be incredible, it came out, and I was certainly disappointed. So I'm not making that mistake again. I've seen the Veilguard, my own eyes and ears, we know exactly what to expect, so I want to look one last time before the game comes out, the copers. One last round of copers until we can actually play it for ourselves, because I think once it's actually released, most of these people are going to disappear, minus the activists, because of my politics, ideology. I didn't even buy the game, but I must defend it at all costs so I can be part of the virtue signaling conversation. That's the only group that's actually going to be left, I think, once the dust has settled. But we'll start here with Reddit. This post, Dragon Age Veilguard subreddit. And this person says, the Veilguard needs to succeed. It needs to succeed. I'm a huge fan of BioWare and extremely excited for their new game. Even though I work from home on launch day, I did not want any distractions. I took off 2 days so I can play to my heart's content. I've seen a lot of people bashing the game, calling it too woke, or other complaints, and I want it to stop. I really hope on release the game becomes as big as Baldur's Gate 3 and Dragon's Dogma 2, although a nosedive did happen on Dragon's Dogma 2. It's a strange comparison, like Baldur's Gate 3, biggest RPG in probably like 15 years, maybe since Skyrim. We take out the real action-focused ones, but I mean, come on, like, there's no positive word of mouth that's going on outside of an echo chamber like this. Like, the idea that it's gonna blow up, I'd say it's near impossible at this point. Like, the damage has been done. Even if the game itself, it overperforms in terms of how it plays. Like, oh wow, there's actually some decent quests in the game. The ideologues, the developers who are basically activists, they're actually capable of producing some content that doesn't completely suck. I'll be shocked, because it's obvious where their priorities are. I don't think that they're secretly crafting anything that's good. They would have shown us. If there was good stuff genuinely in the game, I think we would have seen it. I never believed these devs. I've heard this rumor about how Act 3, it's going to be really good, like, towards the end of the game. When does that happen? When does a game get, like, better towards the end? I cannot think of many. They normally fall apart, especially RPGs. That's pretty common. It sounds like the old Todd Howard lie where it was, oh, Starfield might be boring. It seems boring at the start, but once you hit that 60, 70 hour mark in the game, oh, that's the sweet spot when you start having fun. And then everyone got there, it was more lies, you were more bored than ever. I mean, this is why I wanted to read this now, because we're never going to get this level of cope again. Once the game is actually out, it's going to be such a disaster that people like this will go away. The future of both Dragon Age and Mass Effect depends on this one game. I'd agree with that. I think we're going to have seen the last entries of both franchises. Mass Effect, it's never going to be seen again unless it's another team working on it. Dragon Age will probably be dead and buried. But who knows, maybe in 20 years, the new Larian, whoever's the Larian of 2040, maybe they'll revive the franchise and we'll get a new, genuinely great entry, as we saw with Baldur's Gate 3. Again, it's a BioWare IP, which makes it all the more funny. And he continues, please buy this game, please! If the game is cross-progression, buy it on all platforms that you own. If you're on Steam, please give this game overwhelming positive reviews and rating. You have to do it. Sadly for him, it's just not going to happen because BioWare wanted their cake and to eat it too. They wanted the Dragon Age name, the Dragon Age IP, and get people in the door based on that alone. But then they made that mistake, that the common mistake, we've seen it with Bloodlines 2, many others. They wanted to make a game that's nothing like the IP that they're selling people on. Totally different tone. There was a video, I talked about it recently, where someone who played it for 7 hours described it as a cross between God of War 2018 and Guardians of the Galaxy. So they're trying to chase, like, what they think is, like, the modern trend. Oh, if we do this, we're guaranteed to print money. But we're also going to stick the Dragon Age IP name on it to trick people and bring people in. You do that, you're not going to get overwhelmingly positive reviews, even if it's decent at trying to be Guardians of the Galaxy, which I highly doubt it will be. These developers are genuinely incompetent from everything I've seen. But when you blatantly mislead people, they're going to make their voice heard. And this works both ways. It's not just the shit ones that get the attention. If you make a genuinely great game, even if it didn't have pre-release hype, Baldur's Gate 3 is a good example of that. Not that many people were talking about it outside of like niche CRPG circles for the most part. It wasn't the biggest name out there, but then it releases, it blows up because so many people are talking about it in a positive light. That could have been this new Dragon Age. People are probably ready right now for the next Baldur's Gate 3 like, that gets people excited. Hundreds of hours of great RPG content that was true to the tone of the original, of Origins. If it was something like that, everyone would be so on board with this. You hear these excuses that come out, oh, everyone just wants to hate everything, they want to hate these games. No, we wanted to love this. Like a new Dragon Age, true to form, would have gotten people so excited, but BioWare dug this hole themselves, trying to chase modern trends and being arrogant with this attitude of, the world's changed, people want this, the new Canary that we've seen. No one wanted that. That's little deluded echo chamber, wacko political beliefs. That's how we got here. It's not going to get overwhelmingly positive reviews. If you want that delusion, look at whatever IGN's review's going to be. I'm pretty sure them are going to be reviewing it. So if you want your fantasy world, there it is. But for the rest of us, the real players, they're going to be giving their real opinions, and I don't think they're going to be too nice. And then we've got this. This person says, the guy who made the video calling the game Guardians of the Galaxy meets God of War also said there was nothing dark about the game. I'd say that the trailer says otherwise, lol, and he's referring to this, the brand new official launch trailer for the Veilguard. Goes for about 2 minutes, it just came out, and if we skim through it, it does kind of look dark. I don't see the light and fluffy stuff. I don't see the companions making fools of themselves, being quirky and all of that. And that's what we kind of came to expect from the original reveal trailer of the Veilguard back in June, I think it was. It was more like a Fortnite thing, like a mobile game trailer or something. And that's the question then. Why is this reveal trailer so dark? But the original trailers back in June, they were a different thing, totally different vibe, but again, warm and fuzzy. Well, the answer's quite simple, we know, because people who have played it, who are credible, told us this game isn't dark at all. There's maybe 10 minutes in the first 7 hours where it's a little bit dark, but then it's ruined by cheesy, Disney-fied, modern, Marvel-esque dialogue that just ruins the atmosphere. So the game is not trying to be dark. But the problem is, the reception to that back in June was overwhelmingly negative. This isn't, these copers will say, oh, it was the anti-woke grifters saying that. But no, literally everyone hated it. They thought it was one of the worst things they'd seen and Dragon Age was over. So EA, BioWare, in a panic, have been trying to trick people and pretend, no, it's the same old tone. It was just maybe the marketing team. They fucked up and they put this weird reveal trailer together. But no. The team's been cooking the same old Dragon Age that you've always loved. And that's what this official launch trailer is trying to do, to pretend that it is a darker tone, but it's not. People who've played it have said it isn't. So this Reset era poster, who's trying to say someone who's actually played it is lying, you're going to trust deceptive marketing over the 20-minute gameplay trailers. IGN had all this other gameplay as well. There's a lot out there where it's very clear that the game is not dark. It's something else. It's trying to chase modern Marvel crowd or something like that. This isn't Dragon Age, and we all know it. And then we've got another Redditor who says, for all of the Veilguard haters out there, when Baldur's Gate 3 came out, was it anything like Baldur's Gate 2? Now, again, there's probably revisionist history going on because there wasn't that much excitement before the Baldur's Gate 3 official release. In fact, I remember there's even videos on this channel from like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, where if you check the comments, people actually didn't like Baldur's Gate 3 getting praised because they thought it was going to like ruin the legacy of Baldur's Gate 2, the old BioWare games. Ironically, it was really only when it came out that people changed their tune, and that makes sense. There were reasons to be skeptical, but Larian delivered. And a huge difference is that Larian had the first act, the best act of the game. They made it available like a year before launch, and they were extremely open about it. They wanted to take feedback from anywhere that they could. They wanted to make old fans happy while still doing their own thing, doing it their own way. And the opposite can be said for the BioWare team. They're basically closed off. They don't want to hear from anyone. It seems like they're basically arrogant. Our way is best. And we've seen that they don't know what they're doing, that their way is the opposite of what we want. We're ready to pay for a good Dragon Age, but you just can't produce. And if you do make your voice heard, if you say something as simple as, gee, it's a shame that it's not more like Origins, the tone just feels a little bit off. When you say that, their response is, you're a sexist, you're a transphobe, you must be some sort of tourist, right-winger, there's something wrong with you. Any feedback makes you a this or a that. They don't want to hear any feedback. The developers, the fandom, that's just how it is now. And he continues here with, you're mad about the way it looks? Get over it. This game isn't here to do what it did 10 years ago. Well, I'm thankful for that. I don't think Inquisition was very good. You don't like that it doesn't have more Dragon Age 2 in it? Who said that? It's not Dragon Age 2. Okay, good, that was a rush game, it was a mess. We want Origins. Convenient that he mentions every game except for Origins, given that's the good one that we want to get back to. You think there are too many woke themes? Veilguard is personalized, and you can be who you want to be. Actually, no, like the sliders. No matter what you do with the sliders, you mix and match and your character still looks retarded. You can't escape it. React how you want and not every character you're going to love because, again, games are about innovation, relevance, and creativity, which is ironic because this game is just trying to copy whatever they thought was cool and popular at the time and was going to make them money. They copied God of War 2018 because that's probably around when this actually started development, right after Anthem. They're not innovating, they're not trying new things. If they were, they would have taken a risk like Baldur's Gate 3 did, a CRPG in an era where that's super niche. No one thought that was going to sell. Very few publishers would take that risk. They tried it, they rolled the dice, and it paid off for them. BioWare, they sort of played it safe, trying to copy what they thought was mainstream, but they got it 6 years too late. Now no one cares, and that's just on the gameplay front. Then you've got the tone. There's a lot I could say. I may have said enough on it, but I could go on. And I will. Embarrassing. Genuinely feels like some sort of government-funded psyop where they wanted to see how awful can we make something look before everyone actually just comes together and says, enough of this, we're all on the same page. Even these clowns. But no, these people are still shilling for it, and we really have our answer. You look at the comments here, and someone says, this is the mindset of all of them. None of these people really care about the game at this point. These are the only people left. I pray this game succeeds, not just because I want a good game, but because it will trigger the chuds. And that's where we basically are. Even the creator of Dragon Age, sure, he's not directly working on this right now, but he shares the mindset of the developers. And he said the same thing. You criticize this game, you're a transphobe, you're a chud. You're an incel, that was another one. Basically, all of these people, they don't care about the quality of the game. A lot of these people aren't even going to buy it. They're here for political reasons, and they just want to see people they disagree with politically unhappy. They did this with Silent Hill 2 Remake as well, where these idiots tried to pretend that the people skeptical of the game. Oh, it was just the anti-woke crowd who were talking about Angela's character model, one of the female character models in the game. No, most of the skeptics were people who didn't trust the developer for good reason, and because Silent Hill 2, it's a genius game, and it's very easy to get it wrong. However, it releases, most people think it's quite good, and that's the overwhelming opinion, and they tried to create this narrative that, oh, the anti-woke crowd have been proven wrong, they're all just tourists who don't know what they're talking about. No, the controversies around that game before release, very little to do with DEI stuff. People were rightly skeptical, but the developer proved themselves, and then people will give them a chance. The game will do well. That could be the case with the Veilguard, but EA, the publisher, is spineless. They allowed BioWare to fester into an ideological cult and did nothing about it, and that's why we're here. The developers are incompetent, and nothing will change unless there is a big clean out. There's no point greenlighting Mass Effect 5. Give them another chance. You're just insanity doing the same thing over and over again unless you get new people in. Fresh faces who actually care about these IPs above politics. And we'll end with this one. Someone says, wish we could actually talk about the game. The whole anti-woke hate sphere, where these people are acting only on their emotions and no logic, and having a clear bias that limits their ability to actually take in the game, which makes everyone else defensive and wanting to only talk positive and shoot off the weirdos. Like, I'd love to actually talk about everyone's genuine concerns. What an absolute liar. Anytime you bring up concerns, they just, again, they hit you with the same old name calling. You're an incel, you're a this. Because there are very legitimate concerns that started before we even saw, like, the rebranding, before we saw the game properly unveiled in June. I was very skeptical about it before we ever saw how bad it had gotten. Because this game was in development hell. It was, I think, a single player, then it was turned into a live service. Then it was turned back into a single player, but that was only like a couple of years ago. So we've only had like 24, maybe 36 months to convert the Veilguard from a live service into single player. When does that work out? Because remember, Redfall, I'm pretty sure that was the same. It was a live service turned into kind of a co-op single player game. It didn't do too well. I don't think we talk too much about that game now. So the signs have been there for a long, long time that the Veilguard was going to be a disaster. And you get these dishonest people, oh, I'm willing to have a reasonable conversation, just don't mention anything about the woke. Even that is dishonest, because the whole problem isn't just, oh, the character models look weird, and that ruins the whole game and all of that. Because the problem is much deeper. When you've got a game like the Veilguard, or a Concord, for instance, where it looks so unbelievably awful, it's on purpose, and even though this is a commercial product that they want you to spend money on, they've gone out of their way to make it look as unappealing as possible, and they've only done it for political reasons. That can only happen if the studio is so far down the shitter that basically everyone is in on it. It's not just a handful of woke devs, it's leadership and even senior management of like EA. Their hands are almost tied because there's so many people in this organization who are all drinking the same Kool-Aid. You're even scared as like a senior executive of pointing it out because remember like that Netflix executive, I think he said the N-word in the context of being bad, and then he lost his lucrative position in like a ridiculous manner. Some of these senior leadership people, they're scared, they're tolerating it, and now they're gonna lose a lot of money. They can talk about how, oh, it's selling so well, it's up to number 13 or 14. Only a day ago, the Veilguard was losing in sales to Sonic Generations, some sort of remaster or remake of that. The Sonic games have a low budget because they don't sell that well. They're not a big money maker for Sega, let's be honest. They're no Mario. And the Veilguard's barely beating that. Sure, it'll jump up for launch and everything, but this game, people are skeptical. They're not wanting to buy it. But as I've said, we've got to remember these good times, because right now we can laugh at these people, we can laugh at the game. There'll be a few weeks of entertainment when it comes out, and then everyone will forget, the dust will settle, and the end result is just going to be they basically destroyed what little hope the Dragon Age franchise had left. So I hope the devs are happy. And what are we now? Like a week away or something. So it's coming up very soon. We can finally see it all for ourselves. Thanks for listening. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers. Bye.